When those tail ends were, I didn't pass them around, they got back up here. Okay, when the tail ends went around, you may have noticed how the owl leg had feathers. I know it felt like fur, but it's feathers, going all the way down to the toes. Whereas the hawk's leg is very leathery. That helps buffer the wind so that they can fly quieter. Another thing is the way the wings are designed. This is a daytime hunter, a red-tailed hawk. I want you to listen to this wing. You hear it in the back? It's a pretty noisy wing. You can care less about being silent. He wants to get to his food before it sees him coming. Now the owl, this is a barred owl wing. Okay, it's not his. Not this one. Listen to this wing. You hear that in the back? No? How about in the front? No, it's built for silence. The shape of the wing, yeah, great window. But this guy here, the shape of the wing, the softness of the feathers, the design of the wing, the size of the wing compared to the size of the body allows him to flap it even slower. All of those things help him fly with silence that he can sneak up on his prey. Now, once he catches his prey, then he kills it with the talons, and then he eats it. And like all birds of prey, it does have that curved beak for ripping and tearing. But if it's small enough, let's say he catches a mouse about this big, okay, he doesn't have to rip it apart. He just grabs it, flips his head back, down it goes, the whole thing. Whatever he can't digest gets shoved into a little pocket next to his stomach, wadded up into a tight little ball. A couple hours later, up it comes and out it comes. What we call owl puke. No, that sounds gross. No, okay, we'll call it an owl pellet. It sounds a little better. This is actually one of his pellets. If you look closely, you'd be able to see all the little bones in there. And that's what this is. Whatever he couldn't digest, fur and bones. Just gets compacted. If you tore this apart, you'd be able to figure out exactly what he ate by putting all the little tiny bones together. I think I see a jawbone in there. Yeah, there's some mouse. Now, I used to pass these around, but when I do, they end up looking like this. So I stopped passing those around. Instead, I will pass this around. You can look at it. Please do not open the bag. I don't want owl puke all over the floor. Now what happened to this guy? Well, when he was young, and we know he was young because he still had all the downy feathers on his head, he probably just learned how to fly, was learning how to hunt. Mom and Dad forgot to teach him look both ways before crossing the road. He never saw the car coming. He got hit, it broke its wing. Unfortunately, the red-tailed hawk, he broke his wing between two joints. This guy broke his wing right at the joint, right where it bends. Worst place for a bird to break the wing. The reason is because you can't pin the wing. The only thing you can do is fold it up, wrap it up, and hope for the best. Now, the joint on this guy was actually shattered. The veterinarian and I actually had to open up the wing. We shaved out some of the broken bone because it was in tiny little shards, and there wasn't much of the ball left, so we didn't have a lot of hope for it, but we were going to give him a chance. We wrapped it up, and we hoped, crossed our fingers. Anyone here ever have a broken bone? Yeah, you have a cast on it? How long was the cast on it? About 6 weeks? Yeah, I've heard someone told me once he had it on for 6 months. It depends on how severely the break is, but rarely it's less than a month. With a bird, their bones are hollow. Okay, that allows them to be lightweight so that they can fly. If you're heavy, you don't get off the ground. Being hollow, they break easier, but they also heal quicker. His bone, a bird's bone, will heal in approximately 7 days. Now, we usually go 10 to 14 days. So with him, because of the severity of the break, we went a full 2 weeks. When we took the bandages off, that's when the rehab starts. That's when we start exercising the wing to get full motion out of it. We never got it open very far at all. So we took him back to the veterinarian. We did more x-rays, and we found that the joint was not there anymore. New bone had grown over the break. It calcified, as we call it, and basically it fused the bones shut. So this guy only has one wing that opens fully. Notice the one closest to me, it is still there, but it will not open. So this guy cannot fly. Birds need 2 whole wings fully extended to fly. That's why he cannot go back to the wild. His name is Shakespeare. He's about 5 or 6 years old. Are there any questions about this bird? Yes? Where's his mouth? Right there. See that C? Try to get him to that C. Yes. Very good question. She asked, how can I tell the males from the females? We talked about the kestrel. Okay, boy. We talked about how the kestrel shows color difference between male and female. Most birds of prey, they're the same colors between male and female. The only way you can tell is by size. Who do you think is larger, male or female? I'm hearing both. It's the female. With most animals, the male seems to be larger than the female, but with birds of prey, the female is about a third larger than the male. That's true with most birds of prey, not all of them. They've been doing studies and found that with like screech owls and kestrels and your smaller birds of prey, it's hard to tell male from female by size. The only way to really do it is by blood work. But with most of your large birds of prey, female's larger. She's the one who protects the young in the nest, and she has to be larger and stronger. Yes, sir?
Eagles are bigger than anybody.
Are these found around here? Yes, these are found around here. They're one of our more common owls, but they're also one of our least seen. And the reason is because their habitat, swamps and deep woods, which where I know I don't hang out much at nighttime. So that's where you will find them. They are one of the easiest owls to call in. Excuse me, waiting for me to do this. They're one of the easiest owls to call in. When you make their call, they will answer back. They're a very curious owl. We've done many owl prowls at Beaver Meadow and across western New York. Steve's helped me do some owl prowls before, and the one that we always seem to get to answer back, this guy. Okay, they are a very curious owl. Some people call him the who cooks for you owl because they make the call that sounds like it's who cooks for you all. And I'm going to put Steve on the spot now. He does an awesome barn owl song. That's the call that they make. They don't always do the entire call. I'll hear the wild ones and the captive ones in my backyard during the summer. Sometimes they just do part of that call. I've heard them just do the end part at times, do the if you're ever out in the woods at night, if you're out in the woods at night and you hear monkeys fighting in the trees, no, we do not have monkeys in the wild in western New York. What you're hearing is barred owls communicating with each other. I did hear once that scientists believe that the barred owl has the most vocalizations, variety of vocalizations than any owl out there. Last question, I'm going to bring out the next bird. What do I feed him? He gets mousicles and ratsicles. We actually, I think Steve mentioned this earlier, we have a supplier called SAS. They're in Jamestown, New York, other side of the state by New York City. And they raise rats and mice for the pet trade. They give their imperfect ones that just don't look right. Maybe an ear was chewed off by another mouse. They bag them up and they donate them to rehabilitation centers and nonprofits. By donating, they just donate the cost of the mice, not the shipping. Shipping for 2 crates of mice is around $100, so it does get expensive. But at least we're getting the mice for free. So that's where we get our mice from. And that's what they eat. And we don't feed them to them frozen. We do defrost them the night before. Step through there. And I'm going to turn it back over to Steve.
Before I bring out the last bird, there's a difference between the talons and the way they hold the talons between a hawk, falcon, and an owl. A hawk and a falcon, they hold their feet this way. 3 front, 1 in the back. That's how they grab stuff. Unfortunately, the taxidermist who did this foot did not know the difference between a hawk and an owl.
That was
Hawk,
the real.
like I said, 3 front, 1 back. An owl will do 2 front, 2 in the back. When they're on our fist, if you come up close, you will see they grab our fist. 2 front, 2 back. The reason they do that, if you're hunting at night, and it's hard to get your prey anyway, what do you think's better to grab something? This way or this way? This way. It forms like a net. They go in, grab it. So there's one thing that you got to be aware of, that those